I'd come up with something. She's like, how did you figure that out? I said, it took me a little while, honey.
And then I'll take it up. Dale, are y'all ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready yet? Mr. Wagner?
Yes, I'm ready. Yeah, he's not feeling well.
Okay, so the executive session, I was gonna go over some things with the water contract, but I don't think we're ready to talk about that yet. So
Okay.
we don't need executive session for that. I know we have,
Personnel.
yeah, just.
Yeah, okay. All right. Y'all ready, fellas?
Yeah,
Jimmy, how are you?
good, how you doing, bud?
Yeah. Keep me busy tonight.
Where are we going?
I just gotta get some Tylenol, man. It's split. I'm doing it for my car. I didn't have time to do it.
I'll go ahead and call it. All right, good evening, folks. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Mayor Crawford can't be with us tonight. He's a little under the weather, so please keep him in your thoughts and good wishes his way. Today is June the 8th, 2023. It's 7 p.m., and this is the Town of Stokesdale regularly scheduled Town Council meeting. If you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, sir.
Before we get started, I think we need to close these blinds. They tend to blind the camera. No,
Okay,
there we go.
there it is.
Thank you.
All right,
No, I don't. No. Doesn't look like it.
joining us tonight for our invocation is Pastor Ed McKinney of Stokesdale United Methodist Church. Welcome, Pastor Ed.
Thank you. Let us pray. This is the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
I mean,
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to review and adopt the agenda. Does anybody have any changes, revisions to the agenda? With that, I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, Jim?
aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. Next up, actually, before we get going on the agenda, I'll share with folks, about 3 or 4 nights ago on WXII, they reported a story out on the Highway 158 widening from Walkertown through Guilford County. You know, I'm sure y'all won't believe this, but the news did get that wrong, somewhat. So a little bit of fake news here. Robbie did a great job reaching out to the DOT and get clarification. So in the event that folks did see that report on WXII, I'd like for Robbie to share his email correspondence with the group, or at a minimum, you know, give us a summary of really what's going on.
All right, yeah, no problem. So, yeah, on June the 6th, you made that present. I didn't realize that until we spoke about it. So, watched it for myself and saw where WXI had put a news story out about improvements to US Highway 158, more specifically the widening of a 20-mile stretch from 421, which is Salem Parkway, in Winston, all the way to 220 in Guilford County. And so after seeing that, reached out to Miss James. She's the project engineer for Division 9. And she responded back to me and said that at this time, R-2577A, the southernmost section of the US 158 project, is the only section that's funded for construction. WXI's story mentioned the entire project, so that might be a bit confusing. The northern section that runs through Stokesdale, which is R-2577C, is not funded and is still subject to their approval. So it may not happen. And then Mr. Kettner, who is the project manager for Division 7, copied on that email and said that she was correct, that portion C is what they call it at the state, was not funded at this time. However, the other project that would impact the town of Stokesdale is R-5823, and that was presented to council back in February of '22. And as of May 10th of this year, he provided an update to the Greensboro Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization with a revised design. And the MPO is planning to share the latest proposal at this month's MPO meeting. And in summary, the traffic didn't warrant widening of NC 68 at Stokesdale. And so the option is at the intersection of Ellisboro Road and Blues Creek Road. They're talking about doing a roundabout, or there's an option of doing additional turn lanes. They could possibly realign 68 and 65 to eliminate the skew. There could be a roundabout at 68 and Lauren Road, or they're talking about realigning Sylvania and Lemons Loop with a proposed roundabout as well. And he did give me an FYI saying that internally they're trying to schedule a public meeting for local officials and for public comment. They're shooting to have that sometime in the late summer, early fall of this year. So
Okay. Would that public meeting, would it be in town hall, or did they?
I have
here,
a
somewhere in Guilford County?
I would imagine Guilford County. If not Guilford County, then wherever the MPO meets. I'm not quite sure where they meet.
Gotcha.
So, but he's supposed to be getting me some maps and drawings of this, and so as soon as he gets that, I'll send it to council.
Thank you, Robbie. All right, next up on the agenda is to review and adopt the minutes. We have August the 11th, 2022 from the regularly town council meeting. Entertain a motion to adopt or continue.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the August 11th, 2022 regular town council meeting minutes as written.
I'll second the motion. All righty, Jim?
Aye.
Am I? Jimmy?
Aye.
And Tim?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 0. Next up's the May 11th, 2023. Excuse me, we need to strike that from the agenda. Okay. That brings us to our public safety reports. Our Stokesdale Fire Chief, Mr. Todd Galton. Welcome, Todd.
Good evening, citizens and council members. So our activities for the month of May, we had a total of 80 calls. The breakdown on those were 47 of them were medical related, 7 fire related, and 26 of the other nature. The good part of that is for the first time in 2 months, our fire related has been down. So that's always a good thing. Just want to take a moment to remind everybody, I know we're getting in that time of year where folks use their grills a whole lot. And we occasionally see fires involving grills, gas grills, charcoal grills. A lot of people still use that. If you use a charcoal grill, treat the charcoal much like you do your wood stoves when we talk about ashes. Don't put them in plastic buckets, keep them away. If you take them out and dump them, put water on them, because those things will continue to smolder for several days and can ignite. Gas grills, we've actually had some incidents where people go to light their gas grill, it doesn't light. Gas is trapped in there, they'll continue until it lights. Well, when it lights, it's a boom that goes along with it, and we actually had an individual in our fire district several years ago that received some first and second degree burns from an incident like that. I would encourage you to go to our Facebook page. We actually have a couple of tips on there for grilling, and we actually have a photo that's put out about positioning your grill. What can happen if you have a vinyl sided house, you position your grill in the wrong place. People don't think about the heat venting out of the back of it and what it can do to vinyl siding and wood siding. So we just encourage everybody to be careful, have a good time, enjoy the outdoors, and hopefully you won't have to see us unless it's just one of those things where you stop by the station and see us.
I hear you. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
All right, Robbie, do you have a report from the Guilford County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see, in May, the sheriff's office responded to a total of 204 calls for the service in Stokesdale town limits, resulting in 20 formal case reports. Of note, detectives have obtained warrants on a subject for a March the 15th residential break-in that occurred on Colgate Road. And then on 5/28, a resident along the 8200 block of Branson Road reported that her catalytic converter was stolen from her vehicle as it was parked outside of her home. The Guilford County Sheriff's Department strongly encourages residents and businesses to put surveillance cameras up along their driveway and exteriors of their home if they can afford to do so to assist with solving such cases. And then as far as calls by type, there was 1 burglary of a vehicle, 2 burglaries of a residential home, 1 disturbance, 21 alarms, 1 assault, 6 domestics, 6 weapon offenses, 3 warrants, 6 fraud, 1 missing person, 3 accidents, 114 other, 16 suspicious activities, 3 vandalism, 3 thefts, and 17 traffic offenses. And that's it.
Thank you, Robbie.
Yes, sir.
We'll go to our administrative reports. First, Town Clerk, Mrs. Martin.
We had 12 meters installed this month. We had 66 meters in stock. We have 7 applications for transfers of service. We processed 19 meters, currently on hold for builders. 21 work orders were processed. 53 811s were submitted. 756 water bills were mailed out this month. We had 25 shelter rentals for May and June. We have 4 rentals for this community room. Meter transponders have arrived, and we'll begin the process of replacing the manual meter reads in those dangerous locations to auto meter reads. Updating backflow maintenance reports. Staff has submitted the CCR, the Consumer Confidence Report to DEQ. It's been placed on the town's website, and it will go out on the June water bills. Staff has submitted the Distribution, Operation, and Maintenance Report to DEQ. Those are due every 3 years. Our year came up this year. Staff has submitted the Local Water Supply Plan. That's due each year, June 1st. That was submitted recently. Staff also submitted the Water Shortage Supply Plan to DEQ. That's also due June 1st, and that's reports due every 5 years. Staff has executed the contract with the new auditor, Cindy Randolph. Executed the contract with Yates Construction for the erosion repair project there in the town park. Mr. Wagner monitored the progress, and I think he distributed pictures to council with that finished product. We'd like to thank Gene Roberts and Yates Construction for going over and above to complete that erosion project. Staff has worked with Duke Energy to get power lines removed from 7901 Athens Road. Staff has worked with Mr. Winfrey to execute and record the deed of combination, and I received the original today. Staff has executed the contract with CJ Builders for the construction of the basketball, pickleball courts for the town park. Staff has published the notice of public hearing and prepared the proposed budget. Staff has researched other municipal contracts for purchasing and reselling of water. Town staff has attended the Park Improvement Committee meetings, which is almost every week. Staff has prepared rezoning letter based on your last month's meeting. Executed the resolution to the Board of Elections setting the filing fees that was adopted by council last month. That was sent to Guilford County. Staff has worked with finance officer to assign the account numbers and finalize the capital project ordinance for the park improvements that will be needed for all the grants coming up. Staff has worked to secure grant funds from House Bill 1163. We got those yet? Not yet. Okay. Staff is working on quotes for the internet and telephone service for here at Town Hall. Ms. Callahan has contacted 4 vendors, and we hope to have you something on that really soon. Research the closing of Suffield Road in Guilford County for Guilford County Planning and Land Solutions subdivision, a new subdivision planned over there. And they wanted to confirm that that road had, a portion of that road had been closed, and that was done in 2005. We assisted and drafted the town administrator and town clerk job that will be discussed later tonight. Staff has assisted A&D Enterprises with water leaks during the blow-off valve process, and we met last week with the Board of Elections on-site for their ADA compliance inspection. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Martin? All right, as far as planning board, is there a planning board meeting this month, Robbie?
No, the planning board meeting this month has been canceled.
Events committee, no update. Property committee, Jim or Jimmy?
I don't have anything.
No, I don't have anything.
All right, we have T. Stevenson here, chairman of the Town Park Improvement Committee. Welcome, T.
Thank you, Mr. Foy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a quick update, and of course, just kind of coattail on what Ms. Martin read over with the involvement of the staff in a number of things that the Park Improvement Committee is undergoing. Fleming Engineering completed the boundary survey of the 9.88 acres over here on Athens Drive, and of course, submitted the plat, and then Mr. Renfree filed for the combination deed, and that, of course, has gone through. Thank you for expediting that. That was a big help in us in planning the location of the basketball and pickleball courts. With that, pursuant to last month's town council meeting and the approval of the park improvement recommendation to move forward with the basketball and pickleball court construction, we did move forward with that and contracted with CJ Builders to do that construction. Again, as confirming what Ms. Martin read with regard to the Yates construction work on Town Park and the erosion and drainage issue, that has been let and completed, and a good job. I think everybody that saw the photos and stuff, that was a good deal. They did very well with that and did it in a very timely manner. We have begun, now that the basketball and pickleball courts and the playground equipment has been in work and moving along, we're looking into additional projects at this time to make the best use of the ARPA funds that we can, making sure that those dollars go as far as possible to the betterment of the citizens of Stokesdale. And that would include, the next project up is the nature trails that we'll be doing some preliminary legwork on and getting some cost estimates and that kind of thing.
Great.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
Great job, T. Thank you. All right, that brings us to our finance reports. Ms. Kim Thacker?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, we'll start with the general fund, and these numbers are as of May 31st, 2023. The general fund for the ARP account, we have $716,865 in that account. Bank of Oak Ridge Money Market, $23,510.70. Our Bank of Oak Ridge CDRs, $2,591,750.75. Fidelity Bank checking account, $317,341.45. Petty cash is $150. The total investment earnings for year-to-date, this fiscal year-to-date for the general fund is $31,748.54, of which $7,927 of that is for the month of May. Our accounts receivable for the general fund is Gary, our operator and responsible charge. Our ORC, the salary and FICA due from the water enterprise account is $461.18. The expenses paid from the general fund credit card for a water enterprise that is due back to the general fund, $742.89, and that was for a chlorine F&T kilometer. Don't know if I said that correctly. Meanwhile, Gary needed it, so we will be reimbursed for that. Our shared overhead expenses is $11,185.97. The total this fiscal year to date for shared overhead expenses is $130,680.04. Our sales tax refund that will be due back to us as of May 31st is $607.32. Our total assets for the general fund, including accounts receivables, is $3,662,615.26. The state retirement for the month of May was $847.97. The total for this fiscal year is $8,946.33. The water enterprise account, these numbers are as of May 31st, 2023. The Bank of Oak Ridge CDARS, $506,987.32. Our capital reserve fund, $206,047.04. The Fidelity Bank checking account, $708,078.57. Fidelity Bank savings, $45,060.80. The North Carolina Capital Management Trust Fund balance was $540,743.64. Our total investment earnings, interest earned for this fiscal year to date for water enterprise account is $24,870.86, of which $3,611 of that is for the month of May. Our accounts receivable for the water sales is $29,000. This is active and inactive accounts. This also includes our May billing, is $29,181.31. There are 0 accounts past due, 90 days past due for active accounts. Our inactive 90-day past due accounts, which total 25 accounts, is $6,115.64. Our sales tax refund due back to the water enterprise account for this fiscal year to date is $316.98. Our total assets for water enterprise is $2,036,415.66. The accounts payable, again, for the water reimbursement due to the general fund for the shared overhead expense is $11,185.97. The payroll due to the general fund is $461.18. The expenses paid, again, $742.89. So our total accounts payable due to the general fund is $12,390.04.
Kim, thank you.
Yeah,
I've got one question.
I was in a, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Were you done? I'm sorry.
No, but go ahead now. Go
Please,
ahead. No,
please.
no,
I'm terribly
please go
sorry.
ahead.
I get excited, you know that.
What was your
looking at these
question,
numbers.
so you don't forget?
Well, I know we need to pay A&D Enterprises for the work they did on the blow-off valves.
That's in my notes.
And that you've applied for reimbursement from House Bill 1163 for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your opinion that we can go ahead and have the cash outlay from the Water Enterprise Fund and reimburse that? And would it still be in the budget if we did that?
Because, and I have my notes on this, because March 31st, there was a special call meeting, and council voted to accept the proposal with A&D Enterprises and to use the funds for the state grant HB 1163 to pay those invoices. This House bill it was signed off on and approved for the town of Stokesdale a couple of weeks ago, and I have submitted and requested those invoices back from Guilford County. The thing is I have to submit the request to Guilford. We don't get all of that money in our account. We have to submit invoices to them and request the reimbursement back to us.
Why would Guilford County get it?
Quarterly.
This is through the state.
Excuse me?
Why would Guilford County need that?
I'm sorry, we've got a lot of grants going on. Excuse me. That one's to the state. You are correct. So I have to submit it to them. And we did submit that's been submitted for those invoices at this time. But it is, let's see, it is my understanding that A&D Enterprises is requesting to be paid, And I just, in my notes, I just had, as finance officer, it is my duty to carry the action from March 31st, 2023. Therefore, I am not authorized to pay these invoices from the water enterprise account without counsel to authorize me to pay these.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. My question was, if this money was to be paid out of the Water Enterprise Fund, is the money in the budget to do that? And
It
then
is in contract
the Water
operations,
Enterprise
yes.
Fund would be reimbursed.
Correct.
Going to make a motion that you pay the invoice from A&D Enterprise from the Water Enterprise Fund under the contract operation line item.
I'll second the motion. Ms. Thacker, where does the communication stand with A&D? Have they been notified that there's going to be a delay with them getting paid?
Yes, they have.
And their response was?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I spoke with Mr. Hodges earlier this week, I believe on Monday, explained to him the situation, explained to him that basically the holdup was that the original motion that was made was.
I understand the wrinkle.
Yes,
And I understand you explained it, and
Yes.
what I'm interested in is his response.
he was very understanding.
Okay.
Yes, he understood, and he said that was no problem, and he had another invoice on the way for the last bit of work that they have completed.
I would hate for us to be the cause of them not to be able to meet payroll or some other circumstances.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and to Tim's point, if we could get that check written tonight after the meeting, that'd be,
Since you granted, I will be happy to, but
During the
not
intermission?
until that was done, I was not.
and I appreciate your diligence, Ms. Thacker.
Okay.
And Ms. Thacker, I do as well. You did the right thing, putting the brakes on. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Was there any, can I continue?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
please.
I wanted to let you guys know that I did receive an email this week from the LGC regarding Ms. Randolph's audit contract. They have approved the contract for Ms. Randolph's, her contract for the fiscal year to do our audit for fiscal year 2023. So I just want to I just received that email 2 days ago.
Right?
So they've approved that. And I have one request from council. Let me get to my other paper over here. Category 1303. Okay. I need to move $200 from account 13,003. I'm in the water enterprise, I apologize. From chlorinator maintenance to reduce this account budget line to $3,800 and to increase the account budget line to $750 in category 13,004.
So is this the same category move?
It is the same, but I'm not allowed to do that without council's approval.
That's correct. I'll make a motion that you, for approve that move within the category.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Ms. Martin, is that enough of a, is Ms. Thacker's verbiage enough to suffice for the motion? Thank you.
All right, any discussion? Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
My motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. And that concludes my wrap.
All right, thank you, staff. Very detailed reports. Appreciate that. That brings us to citizens' comments. We also have a public forum tonight for the next year's fiscal budget. During that public forum, if you'd like to speak about the budget, please do. If you have any other comments not related to the budget, now would be the time to do that. Please step to the podium.
Mr. Foy, are we proper with using the term forum versus hearing? Mr. Winfrey?
Well, I would say hearing is the legal term for it, yeah, but they're probably interchangeable. But it is a hearing, to hear from the public more than us discussing it.
Well, I know, but do we need to separate public comments from comments about the budget and delineate that in our agenda here so that we don't?
Well, the agenda contains a public hearing, number 8, for the budget.
And Mr. Foy, you're saying that citizens would be able to make comments about the budget at a later time in this meeting?
Right after we get done with citizens' comments, there's a public hearing that we could, anybody that would like to speak.
Yeah, You know, maybe I'm the slowest one in the room, but I just
You're
want to
not.
make sure we didn't confuse our citizens.
And also under 13, another citizens comment area, so they would have a documented place to talk if they needed to.
Would anyone like to speak? All right. Being that there are none, is anybody online that would like to speak? All right, great. That brings us to the public hearing for the FY '24 Town of Stokesdale operating budget. We do have an agenda item, Kim, to discuss the budget after the public hearing. It's my recommendation we go ahead and open the public hearing up to hear from the public. Any objections?
Not from me.
All right, would anybody like to speak about next year's operating budget? I'd like to recognize Mr. Jordan Baumforth. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very much appreciated. I was here a month ago. Seems a little less than that, but I've come to, on behalf of the board of Stokesdale Parks and Recreation, continue to inquire about the potential facility upgrades for the baseball and softball fields. I have with me my director, Sal Cagno of basketball, and a friend of the program, John Campbell, over here, that has assisted us with recent upgrades. As mentioned last month, the ask to headline is a 2-to-1 match up to $50,000 for the critical infrastructure updates of the light poles for the baseball field and the softball field, new LED lights for the softball field, and the reinstallation of LED lights on the baseball field, which we had to put up 3 months ago in emergency fashion. We humbly ask this, having never come, at least in the experience as has been brought to me, as I've been president for 2 years, to the town inquiring for funds. And this is not intended whatsoever to be a reoccurring nature. The program itself is self-sustaining, thanks to the community and everybody involved, from volunteer sponsorships and fundraising. This is a unique and urgent collaboration that we're hoping to accomplish for the safety of the kids. The poles themselves are, when I first got here, they had explained to me that the time will come when they lose their sustainability. And having been up in the bucket truck a few times these last few seasons with Darren McNeil, looking at the lights, they have had beams that had fallen out from erosion from the weather and animals. They are leaning, and the lights themselves, from a wiring standpoint, have disintegrated. And so for the safety and the functionality of the program, of which it completely relies on having lights to have these kids having the programs after school for what they need. That's why we're here asking for that.
Great. I would note that council should have the organization's formal request. And Jordan, last time we were here, I think I suggested, would it be possible to have some type of resolution from all of the board of directors?
Yes, we have that here.
Were you able to secure that?
Yeah.
And the entire board is in support of?
100%.
That's
all
great.
7 members.
How old are the lights and poles at the field?
So in further investigation, it seems they either predate 1980 or thereabouts. So they've roughly lasted 40 plus years, give or take. Lasted being an operative word these last handful of years.
So I played on that field, when I was 12 or 13. My son played on that field, so those lighting poles served multiple generations in that instant. Would your new lighting poles and lighting, I'm not talking about bulb replacement, but just the lighting fixtures and poles, what's the expected life expectancy of those in terms of duration? Would this be a multi-generational grant from the town?
Given the nature of construction from these types of infrastructure back then and what they have in terms of coding now, we are estimating and hoping that they last over 50 years and however many generations that comes down to. This would take us into the 2080s, So 2070s is what we're hoping for,
That's great.
which I hope are still around.
And the organization charges its participants registration fees every year.
Correct, ranging from $105 to $125.
And those go, what type of expenses do those cover?
Uniforms, game officiating, gym rental, soccer field rental, maintenance, upkeep, property tax, utilities, waste management, mowing, insurance, taxes, equipment, everything.
Does the organization get sponsors every year?
We do. We usually end up having about 10 sponsors per program that are reoccurring, with roughly 3 to 5 that show up new from season to season.
Do you mind if I ask, do you have an estimate on how much you earn from sponsors every year? And
Sponsorships, we asked in the past for 250. We've asked for 300 this year, and so estimated roughly under $10,000, given soccer, baseball, softball, basketball.
And so $10,000 a year. What? And I know you've only been around a couple of years. Do you have any good examples of maybe what those sponsorship donations go towards for
Yeah.
the program or either the community?
Beyond the reoccurring, we had some significant infrastructure updates. We took down the 2 old gates that kept getting run over and put up a main one that has been left open for insurance purposes. We installed a new scoreboard at the softball field, purchased 2 new softball controllers that are Bluetooth. We have new concessions equipment, new softball announcer booth, new electrical wiring for some of the areas that were in critical need. We had new and expanded parking on the left side. We completely redid the bathrooms, thanks to Robert Watkins in particular, and we have a playground, so the kids don't play in the parking lot. This summer, we are installing new red clay, and we just signed off on a new softball batting cage to be constructed as well.
That's great, Jordan. How many months a year does the program offer baseball and softball?
Half, 6.
And during those 6 months a year, how many nights per week is the field being used?
Every night, but they're there Monday through Friday at night when games get going. But I mean, they're there throughout from practices and everything else.
So from a game perspective, is it maybe 5? Was it fair
Yeah,
to assume?
5 nights a week for the games, yeah.
So if there's 5 nights a week, there's 2 games per night on each field, so there's 4 games. What's the average number of players per baseball or softball team?
12 to 13.
We'll just use your lower number and assume 12. If there's 2 games on both fields, 2 teams each game, that's 8 teams playing each night. So 12 times 96 kids. So roughly 96 kids are playing 5 nights a week, 6 months out of the year.
That would be correct.
If each child brings, say, 2 family members, that would, triple that number that would be at the ballpark. So, looking at almost 300 Stokesdale citizens a night.
I would venture a little more, but yeah, ballpark, no pun intended.
Yeah. So 6 months a year, 5 nights a week, so 26 times 5. That's 130 nights a year where there's roughly 96 kids playing baseball, 300 or so Stokesdale citizens. I think our last census was 6,000 people, so 300. So roughly 5% of the town's population is at those ball fields 130 days a year during the night. Does the program have a baseball or softball program if it does not have lights?
No,
Why is that?
because the kids are in school during the day, and the entire nature of the program is to accommodate their educational experience during that time.
Do you sell concessions at baseball and softball games?
We do.
Is that a revenue source for you?
It is significant. It was our #1 revenue generator out of all the sports last year.
If you don't have baseball or softball games because of lighting, would you lose that revenue
Yes.
source? I have no further questions.
Is this correct? The 410 volunteers?
Yeah, when you count the coaches, assistant coaches, field maintenance, and all the other wonderful community folks that just come out whenever we need chalk, whenever we need something else. It's I've never experienced it before, having only lived here in North Carolina 5 years, how much Stokesdale comes out for Stokesdale with these kinds of efforts. So I would venture to say there were more, but when I
Really?
spreadsheeted out, 410 seemed like a safe number.
That's impressive. That's impressive. I played on that ball field when I was 7 years old and up, till I got too old, which,
There probably wasn't lights on back then.
we had lights. We didn't have any food trucks. though.
Pre-lighting area.
We had electricity in town.
We had lights. We didn't have any food trucks. So you probably didn't make it. Oh, maybe they got a good concession stand now. Yeah, I got to go watch some ball games this year, and
We've
that
updated
number,
everything on there, yeah.
410 is impressive. I've been involved a little bit with some sports, and that's a lot of people, and that's good. That's a good thing instead of having, government organization doing it or something. It's really impressive.
Yeah, it's
Mr. Baumfort, I'm not sure if I may be butchering your name. We've never had the opportunity to speak one-on-one. We need to do that sometime. I have always found that ball field to be a nucleus of the community, and it's it's had some ups and downs over many years. I've been hit up for money more than once. I've been down there with my own chainsaw more than once. My reservation in supporting this has nothing to do with the children. You can't look into all those eyes when they're asking you for something and just say no. But what I do like is the concept that basically you just stated about how the community comes together to fund and maintain and operate that facility, and I would venture to say that it's being run better now than it would be if the five of us were operating it as a town park. It just, nature of government being what it is not very efficient. And so my one reservation circles back to the what you just mentioned, this being a one-time sort of request. My concern is I don't want to support this and train the Stokesdale board, a group of parents, or a group of kids to make a beeline to this building when they need money or assistance. I like the self-help aspect of that. I think it builds better citizens out of our kids to participate in that process. And so with all that said, I think there's a great opportunity that may not be sufficiently exploited out there, and I'm just as responsible as anybody else for this, but we have a lot of corporations in Stokesdale. Can you tell me roughly what your yearly donations are from corporations to support the Stokesdale Parks and Rec, just offhand?
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing the reservation. And we will get a chance to talk, you'll know how much I don't want to even be here to begin with to ask this. Sal can tell you, we take great pride in having a wonderful community to kind of be able to accomplish these things from within with these kids. And so to be able to be here and ask, especially given we've already covered 25% of the project in emergency fashion this morning or earlier this season, and then are looking to raise up the other half. The goal is to split in the middle with the town, given the current need. Fundraising, sponsorships from corporations, you're probably looking around $5,000 to $5,500 annually. You have small businesses galore that are almost as much that are coming through. The landscaping, and all these other small businesses that are around the area.
Tend to be sole proprietorships. They're very involved, I know. I just kind of wondered the companies we have in the area that are larger, that have locations across many states. I just wonder what their level of involvement was and what Parks and Rec encountered when you talked to those folks. They function in Stokesdale without a property tax, which is a positive in many ways, but the downside is, this board doesn't always have the funds to throw at something that we perhaps might otherwise attend to. And you know, I personally believe that the best individual to spend the funds is that head of household that's earning that money, has it in the bank, that you know, the five of us are not smarter than all the families out there. And so I like the idea of donations coming from those families to Parks and Rec and from corporations to Parks and Rec versus just a straight government path. So if we support this, it's just a big step for the town of Stokesdale and the Stokesdale Town Council based on our history here. You know, we hadn't been doing this. It's a big chunk of money for this small town board, and that's why I wanted to communicate that to you.
I appreciate that and completely agree with you. Over the course of what we've been able to see with folks that have come out of the woodwork, $5, $10, $15, those that come in for concessions that we keep at Stokesdale prices to be able to have dinner when they're on the way home, everything goes right back into the program with those kids and what they do. But it is a complete effort, regardless of what happens. When we raised funds for the playground, there were a few larger corporations that did fund. There were a few national financial firms that did fund, but the vast majority was coming from the folks here. And there is something to be said when I first moved here and you turn the corner to that park and you have no idea it exists, and the first time you see it, it just blows your mind. And it, for me, in part, you see a lot of folks feel similar when they keep coming back wanting to do these organic improvements around it. Without any funding, we had the Girl Scouts there a couple weeks back doing the pathway and the trail with an official trail maker to the waterfall. And it really is an amazing, I agree with what you're saying. We do not want the full amount. We want this to be a true partnership.
Yeah, I'm concerned if the town touches it too much, we'll break it. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I see where Councilman Jones is coming from, and I tend to agree with him a lot, because I'd like to keep this place away from that place. But we've possibly got some confiscated money that,
Grant money.
yeah, that, this is, I love that ballpark. That was a big part of my life growing up, that and the basketball court up at the school. And, and like I say, I tend to, in most cases, I'd be the same, but we're in a circumstance now that I think that we might be able to take this in consideration. Not that it can happen next year and the next year. I mean, you're talking about for the last 50 years, that's $1,000 investment per year if we did it, for the lights. So, I'd like to look at it. I mean, you had something in mind, Derek, where we might have some money that we could think about?
We absolutely do, sir. The $725,000 grant.
Wasn't there something else?
No, I believe this would need to be used from American Rescue Plan money.
Would it? Because it is taxpayer money, or
It is.
printed money, or whatever you want to call it.
It is.
And we do have it, and if it was in normal circumstances, and we were having to take it out of our checking account where we've got our reserves, it keeps us a tax-free town, I wouldn't do it, I'd be truthful, and I love the place, I truthfully do, but we are in a circumstance that this could be a possibility we need to discuss. It's not part of the governmental town like our park is here that we control, and I kind of like that way. I kind of wish y'all controlled this. I think you'd probably do a better job with it than.
We do use it, thankfully,
We do.
and we appreciate it for the soccer, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I've actually discussed it with council members before about somehow to, turn all that stuff over to let y'all do it, because y'all do a good job. And, not that that'll ever happen or anything, but it wouldn't bother me any, but you can get a way of how I feel about it right now. Like I said, if we had to take it out of our reserves, it keeps our head above water, I wouldn't, but I think there might be something else we can do, and I definitely would, and I know some folks would say, Jimmy, have you bumped your head? But I just,
I don't know if they
It's a
would,
good,
Jimmy.
it's a good, park needs to run, and,
It's,
I mean, I'd love to see, one of the big companies, you know, come up and write a check too, but if you're not there, is everything stable right now? I mean, is we gonna have
Yeah.
anything fall off and hit anybody?
Yeah.
Right at this second, I mean, y'all got it together to where, I mean, I know we need to get it done, but,
is there a picture?
yeah.
Yep. So to your question about the stability, COVID and some management difficulties, 2019, 2020, had their way with it. I brought 3 binders of the last 3 years audited fiscal run-throughs. I brought their last statement from May of the account, $40,000. There's no liens, there's no debts, there's no nothing, there's no back taxes, and a variety of issues that when I came into this, we had to figure out and get it done. Having a program stable like that enabled us to be able to write a check 3 weeks before the season to get these new LED lights since the outfield had failed in February. And thanks to John Campbell, he brought one of the lights just as an example. We have and saw what those lights look like, and they're amazing. They're cost effective. The wires don't disintegrate, and they actually allowed for us to have a season without skipping a beat. This is the bucket truck right here, putting them up on the end. This is probably the more significant pole that's leaning right over the community area where a lot of people end up sitting down. Not intended with this particular picture, but it's clear as day on the right side with that pole as lifting through. There's another pole on the left side that we had to cut down entirely because it was leaning even further and there was no electrical on that. But we did have to reroute the conduits to the back. So we've tried to take all the considerations with safety first around this. We just don't have another 10 to 15 years from a fundraising perspective with this overall project of $103,000. And thanks to Womack Electric and John, we're looking at a bill of roughly $68,000. That's been kind of our target to be able to go through. But again, we want to be able to hand in hand this one for the next 50 years.
So if I can clarify that, so the original or the total cost is you said 109,000?
103,000, and then we
103,000.
wrote a check after subsidies that brought it down to 68,000. So a quarter of the project's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. You're set up, you guys are a nonprofit. Let's say you got 7 members in that went rogue on us. Could y'all sell that place? And if so, where would the money go? I've always worried about that.
So the way the board, at least in my experience, and I can only speak from my experience, I look over at Sal because there was a lot of conversations right around 2021. We're not selling, but we have to figure this out, considering the dire situation financially that it was in. Part of my task after working with these wonderful folks rehabbing it is getting to a place where it has third-party surveillance that it continues to sustain with the board and the accounting methodologies. Case in point, I'm the branch manager at Fidelity Investments. I just went through an internal audit that is sanctioned by FINRA, which is the regulatory body. Loathe audits, but they are absolutely essential in life. This is why we've done one for the last year, for 3 years, that I've ran and produced and presented at the board meeting. And there has been some considerations and talk around having who does our current taxes own the accounting portion of it in greater detail, and paying a little extra so that it does not ebb and flow the count and the program like it has in the past. Because you're absolutely right. Depending on the person, it can go up and it can go down.
You know, I'm not at all worried about, you guys have done a great job. There's no doubt. But, you know, I've been around a long time, and y'all won't stay there forever. I don't think, you know.
Yep. Hence the agreement with the accounting with who we've been talking with to be able to establish that in place. This is more my own personal fear. I don't want anybody to ever have to go through what had to be gone through in 2021.
Yeah.
So I am more PTSD around the financial horrors of it, seeing it firsthand and not having a second step of where to go. Half the time I'm calling around, seeing where bills were located, backdated taxes, all that stuff. So it's not always like that, thankfully. You've got a ton of wonderful people that are running it, but for me, that deals with the potential extremes, you want to make sure that that stuff is safeguarded always and forever. And so when you have a third-party review of that, it helps.
Right.
Under the heading for what it's worth, I know one of the organizers that originally built it was under the impression that it was deeded in such a way that it couldn't be sold going forward. And then a number of years forward, a parcel of it was sold off that caused some consternation in the community, and I don't know the details. But that's, I think, Councilman Lander's concern. I understand his question. You know, the town wouldn't want to invest money in the operation and then find out it'd been sold to, I don't know, let's pick on Oak Ridge for a minute, that was been sold to the town of Oak Ridge. So, you know, I too have that concern.
Can I ask what kind of conversations and considerations have been had around the possibility of that in the past?
There was a parcel that was cut off of that property and sold. Sometime we'll speak one-on-one, and I can tell you the details I know, which are very few. And so I don't know exactly the circumstances, like, you know, it's been there a long time, and it's already happened is my point. And so any kind of mechanism that could be put in place to keep that from occurring in the future some way, somehow, makes me more comfortable in investing in public funds that using my vote with the Stokesdale Parks and Rec, if you see what I'm saying.
But
I appreciate, yep.
Don't think that anybody's putting a finger on you guys at all, because y'all probably brought it back from the dead there. And, you know, the community appreciates it. And so that,
Yeah, to clarify.
we just love to see it.
Yeah.
To where, you know, you wouldn't ever have to worry about it. It would be great, that nobody would ever have to worry about it.
Yeah,
And you guys doing such a good job, you might be in position to get something like that fixed up, to where, you know, where it wouldn't ever be able to be sold or loaned against where a bank could take it or something like that, you know.
I appreciate you sharing. I'll bring that to the board, and we'll look
Yeah,
into
to
that.
clarify, I haven't heard one disparaging word about the operation down there in years and years. So, you know, this goes back way before your time in Stokesdale.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that back to the board and see what we're able to review and counsel together.
So we're,
So while we're at a pause, if I could ask Mr. Winfrey, is there a mechanism that we could put in place I guess to protect their concerns? A contract, a short-term lien or something like that? If, let's hypothetically say, we gave you the money and a year from now, you sold it to Town Oak Ridge, could we have a lien and, you know, a short-term lien to kind of guarantee our investment?
Yeah, there are several options. You could, one option would be to have a right of first refusal if that board ever wanted to sell the property, that the town of Stokesdale would have a right of first refusal to purchase it for that same price. That's one option. Another option is to treat it as a loan and say that if it's sold, it would need to be repaid, the town of Stokesdale would be repaid if the property were sold. So there's a couple of options that are available. I'm curious as to whether the property is free and clear. Now, what's the property address? I don't know.
8401 Capri Drive. Yeah.
So
Forgive
we
me
could-
for not being intimately in the details around all the particulars of that. I have heard and questioned that portion of land that was sold back a while ago, but the details are fuzzy. I'm able to research and consider more of what's involved there, at least from our end.
you see why I don't want Garrett involved in town park? I do want to see some lights up there, though, but, you know.
But just a thought, I mean, to protect those interests.
No, I'd like to see it
Is
set
there
up to where it couldn't ever be sold or
Yeah, a legal
something, but-
mechanism that we could put in place, not to cost anybody
But I
anything. just in
don't think
case.
these guys are thinking about selling it or anything,
Right.
nothing like that, by no means.
I tend to agree with Mr. Rigsby. It's our job to protect that money. No, you know, no offense to
At
anybody.
least
we
a
give it to.
short-term protection. I'm not saying we need to have a 30-year, deal. I mean, but, whatever's reasonable, a couple years or something, so.
How long ago was that land sold? Do you have an idea, give or take?
I was in my 20s. I'm 63. My early 20s.
Don't make me do the math.
And I don't know how early in 20s, but it was pretty early.
So we're talking
40 years more.
the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
80s.
Yeah, it was back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
you know. Don't know really what happened, you know, you always hear rumors and things, but I don't know. But, that's just a concern that,
Yeah.
because they did it one time, they weren't supposed to be able to do it, and then they did it. And I think it had something to do with they were in trouble.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's wrote up or anything like that. We are the watchdogs of the town's pocketbook, even the printed money that we got. But
Well, in trying to answer the question, there are a lot of things we could do if we wanted to attach strings to, if you decided to give money, you can attach strings to that, either you can call it a gift, or you can call it a loan, or you can call it an encumbrance to the property, to protect the town. There are options available.
I didn't bring any of this up to encumber the property or entangle it with anything here. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just one council member speaking. I'm not looking to entangle us with y'all. Y'all, like I said, I'd love to see y'all take the park over too. It would suit me just fine. But I'm just thinking down the road, for the town, for the community. That is the community there. That's, as far as I'm concerned, community park, that is what Stokesdale's all about, been all about for years. This up here is just, it's a side note.
It's not, though. It's a big deal. To take it a step further, I, again, have a high level of anxiety around problem solving, how to keep the program from folding like it was about to do in 2021. The fields can be there, the fields cannot be there, but if that program folds, they're not being used at all in their entirety, and the kids aren't getting the experience that they need. And so resuscitating it has been critical. And then after that, getting the infrastructure updates so we're not having, the potential issues with it. There's a variety of concepts and possibilities. I'm open to all of them. I just know that from a partnership standpoint, being able to have the town have the impact on those fields for future generations, with the assurances or at least agreements in whatever fashion may be, that it stays where it's going and it stays going in the right direction, especially from a financial standpoint. There's a stewardship that goes with this that at some point, my youngest is 9, I'm here for another 5 years at least. But after that, those 9 years fly. After that, something else is gonna come in and somebody else happens. It's the same in your respective roles. So there's gotta be a succession plan with protections. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Where we go, Mr. Mayor?
Well, if there are no further questions for Jordan, I'll have some additional comments when the matter rests with council to discuss the budget.
Well,
But if there are no further questions for Jordan,
I don't have any further questions, but I do. Have we confirmed that we can pay this with, make this donation with the free money?
we can.
Ms. Thacker, we're good? Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Yeah,
Winfrey?
to give you an example of, and I'm gonna regret saying this, but when comparing us to Winston-Salem, but I'm not trying to do that, but when the city of Winston-Salem, from their ARPA money, did grant $10.5 million to nonprofit organizations. So there would be nothing that would prevent us from doing 50,000. And I don't think it's a big secret to anybody that I would be for this. It's a park. It gets used quite a lot. But, I think council will have further opportunity when the budget matter rests with council. Are there any other questions for Jordan?
I don't have anything.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And we'll be discussing this if you want to stick around. Would anybody like to speak in accordance, in the public hearing for the budget? Ms. Theory? No, I just was going to make a comment about this, but. Please.
Can you,
Robbie, could you bring the microphone?
Take our microphone, Rob.
Hi. I just had a thought. The future of this town is the children. And with the wind that we have, I know that I am always afraid that I'm going to get hit by a tree coming down. How stable are those things that should the wind come up, then we're all going to say prayers and blessings to the family. And if we have money that was from the, is it from COVID money?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's from our taxes, our federal taxes, if we got it that way. So I don't see it impinging on the town's budget. But if you can live with yourself by saying, who cares? I don't even have grandchildren. I never could play baseball. I was clumsy. But just think of the kids that can benefit from this. And why would you even think about it? May I ask the attorney a question? Could they put a lien on the property?
The town, if there was an agreement with the current owner, yes, they could.
Okay, so that was my idea, that you could just put a lien against the property for the amount of money. You could even have somebody, which she could do, I know you could do it, compute the interest that you might accumulate on that money in the future. But to be saying that this is going to set a precedent, who cares? There's kids out there that get so much enjoyment out of this. I would hate to see anybody getting hurt with that, even if it's just an old man standing there. So that's all I have to say. I was getting a little furious thinking, I'm glad I don't have grandchildren, because if this is what the decisions are made in the town, I don't have to worry. Okay, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Theory. Is there anybody else that would like to speak regarding the budget? If not, we will go ahead and close the public forum. Excuse me. With the public forum being closed, we're going to reconvene and cancel, which brings us to the next agenda item, number 9, consideration and approval of operating budget ordinance for fiscal year FY 23-24. Council and the citizens alike. Council has copies of the budget here in our red binder, and the citizens, I believe there were some out front of the table to review, and they were sent out to the public on the sunshine list and posted on the town's website. I believe I'll turn it over now to Finance Officer Ms. Thacker. If you have any words that you'd like to say for the budget, I think that's would be standard for you to speak first, and then I have a few things.
Okay. First of all, I would like to apologize to council and the citizens. During each budget workshop that we had, changes that were made, I've made the changes during the workshop on my laptop with my Excel spreadsheet. They were completed, they were done. Dale and I actually worked together on it on a day to make sure we had the budget message correct, everything was correct, everything seemed correct. And when we printed everything out, I closed my laptop, got everything back together, opened it back up when I had everything printed out. This is not the correct budget. I take responsibility. I, honest to God, do not know what happened technically with this budget. I made the changes. Jimmy Landreth even said he saw me make those changes during those meetings. We all saw that those changes were made, and I don't know if it got deleted, it just did not get saved, or what happened. I actually found that out when after Robbie had posted it on the internet and everything. I went to just review it and look at it, and I noticed page 2 was missing, and I said, oh my gosh. So I contacted Robbie. We fixed it back, and as we were looking back through it again, I said, guys, this is not even the correct budget. It was too late, it was already out with the public, there was not a thing I could do about it. But I have the correct one here, right here, ready to go.
Right.
But it's too late, and I just apologize to council and the citizens. This is my technical issue, I had a technical issue, and I'm sorry.
Okay, it happens.
Yeah.
Do we have have you consulted with Mr. Winfrey about this? Have we got
No,
No,
is this news to you too?
yes.
Okay.
sorry.
No, I mean, there were 3 omissions. For the most part, I mean, especially from the water side, I mean, in my opinion, we're looking pretty good. I
was the
do
general
appreciate you, it takes a lot of courage, especially in a setting like this, to, own up to something. And I'll be the first to say, I've been revising a file, and you end up saving or emailing a file out, and it's not the one that you've revised. I think I did that as recently as 2 days ago, so look, it happens. Thank you for saying that. Putting that to the side, and I am gonna have a few words about Mr. Baumforth's request. But just in terms of the budget itself, we had our last budget workshop, I think, May the 2nd or 3rd.
It was May the 4th, yes. May the
Okay.
4th.
Since then, I have spoken with Miss Martin, and Miss Martin's okay if I discuss this. She has expressed interest in stepping down as town clerk and focusing on the, is it recodification or codification of the ordinances? I want to get my wording correctly. Thank you, ma'am. And we did discuss allocating some money, appropriating some money to that in the budget, in the last budget workshop. And, we'll get all that straightened out. I believe it was $40,000, okay? With Ms. Martin transitioning in the next year out of the town clerk role, her hours would also reduce. So the amount of money we've allocated in the rough draft of the budget for Ms. Martin, would not be as much. Also, we have a position of an administrative assistant. In my opinion, we do not need that, and I do not wish to fund it, honestly. But what we will need, in my opinion, would be a full-time deputy clerk. I'm sure there would be some other transitions and staff moves within staff, and I don't really want to get into that, but I do see a need for another full-time deputy clerk to offset not having an administrative assistant and the reduction of your hours. Just my opinion. So I think from taking into account staff transitions that are going to most certainly happen in the next fiscal year, I think council just needs to relook at the budget from that standpoint and reconsider that. And again, I do appreciate you talking about the other things, but quite frankly, Kim, even if that error had not been made, I would not have voted for this budget tonight because I don't think it captures what we need to do from a staff perspective. We probably need to rough swag at it. We probably need to appropriate another $12,000 for a full-time deputy clerk if council believes we should go in that direction. And that's a discussion for down the road. I just think it needs to be in the budget if we think we are going to have that discussion. As far as Stokesdale Parks and Recs request, really, I don't think it really surprises anybody that I am in favor of using the town's American Rescue Plan money for park improvements. We've already appropriated $392,000 of the $725 for basketball, pickleball courts, new playground equipment. Those things will be in place, here in the fall. I'm pretty excited about those. One could say we should be allocating more money of that $725,000 to water system improvements, and I think that would be a very valid statement. But this council has worked its tail off to get other grants in the last year, just $3.5 million for improvements in the water system. So I think the 725 going to the park is very reasonable. And then, of course, I acknowledge that the town doesn't own the community park where the baseball and softball fields are. And it's like Tim and Jimmy were saying, I'm glad we don't. I'm glad we have a strong nonprofit organization committed to the youth in our community to lead this great recreation sports program. It's been set up for decades to do, to go that way. And yeah, they've had their ups and downs, but for the most part, it's gone beautifully. Just look at it now. And there's no doubt, as kind of Tim was alluding to, if government became involved in the management or ownership of those fields, yeah, it wouldn't have been manager-owned. We wouldn't do as good a job as Parks and Rec, but it also, if we had to manage or own those fields, that would have come at taxpayer expense, because where's the money to do it? It's not there. So when I look at the request from Parks and Rec, I see that, we do have grant money to assist them. I see that it would not use any of the town's undesignated funds or reserves. I see a baseball and softball program that could be in jeopardy given the state of the lighting on the fields. I see a park. It's a park that 5% of our town citizens use 130 nights a year. I see an organization committed to raising money for the needed capital project and the opportunity for the town to use grant money in a 2-for-1 matching grant up to $50,000. I see the grant having general positive impacts on the community, given the life expectancy of the poles and the lighting. Generational positive impacts, given the poles and lighting structures, the longevity we would expect to get for that. Public monies must be, spent wisely for public purposes. This is quite a good public purpose, in my opinion. And these grants that we have, it is a result of the federal government printing money, and, we're seeing it in inflation. So, one could certainly argue the merits of should anybody have ever gotten these grants? I probably would lean on the side of no. But the reality is we got them, and let's use them for the best use for our community. I think we're already on the right track by getting these basketball courts and pickleball courts and playground equipment and hopefully some trails and things like that, doing some much needed water system capital improvements. This is a very, very worthy cause, for up to $50,000. I do like that the organization is not coming, just handing for a check. They're saying, we will raise up to $25,000. Can you help us with the other piece? And I think that's a big part of this initiative, is that, when you write a check, $5, $10, $15, whoever writes the check is going to know that that check is really worth 3 times that amount for the organization to get this project done. I think, I would imagine baseball season, softball season's wrapping up now, or maybe it's already wrapped up, but they're going to be back on it again come fall. And my son played spring and fall ball up there, and I just know how much it means to the community. I hope the council sees the value in using our grant money for this. So those are my comments about the budget. I do want to make a motion to continue the budget discussion to a special called meeting dated Thursday, the 15th, 1 week from tonight at 7 p.m. With the purpose of special called meeting for a budget workshop. We need to get back together on the budget.
I'll second the motion.
I've got an additional part to the motion, or I can make 2 parts. Well, let's just vote on that right now.
For us people that are a little slow, it might be simpler.
Let's do 2 motions.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Jim?
Sorry, just to be clear, so is this a workshop, or is this to consider and potentially adopt the budget?
This is a special called meeting workshop with, I hope, after we're done, that we can adopt the budget and not have to have another meeting. but we might.
And would we continue would we be continuing the, budget meeting? I mean,
We need to continue the budget meeting so that the public notice carries forward, don't we, Mr. Wimper?
No, the hearing, once we've had a hearing, we don't need to have another hearing. So in other words, the purpose of the hearing was for the public to let us know what they think about the budget that was publicized. They have let us know what they think about the budget and publicized. I realize the budget that was publicized is not the one that necessarily everyone intended to be publicized, but those are in the nature of amendments. So you have within your rights to amend the budget that was publicized. And I think I assume there's a list of amendments out there somewhere in the ways in which the budget will be amended. So to answer your question, there's no need for another public hearing. You've had your public hearing, and you can amend it tonight and adopt it, or you can do it at a future meeting, just so long as you do it before July 1.
what kind of notice do we have to have if we did another public? I know we don't have to have one, but I don't want to look like we're trying to, do something without the public having input. So.
We don't even want the appearance of something shuffling money or anything here going on.
Well, this will be, well, first off, there'll be a notice of a special meeting, and that's why I want to be very clear about the purpose of the special meeting, because you can't go beyond the purpose of the special meeting once you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. You're right.
And so if your intention is to have a public meeting for the purpose of considering amendments to the budget and potentially adopting a budget, then that's fine. And you can have a second hearing if you want to. You're not required to have a second hearing, but if you want to have a second hearing at that meeting.
Are there any statutory requirements about the length of advertising? Because I know we had to do this one 2 weeks, maybe. Or if we do a public hearing in the second meeting, would we still have to do 2 weeks notification, or could we just?
I think it's just 2 days.
It's still
48 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, but for the budget, we did have to advertise in,
What I would recommend is if you want to have another public hearing, to continue the public hearing from tonight to whatever date you want to say, but it has to be 48 hours.
I would want for us to iron out whatever details that we're gonna do. And I mean, I don't wanna have a lot of meetings, but, if we have to have them, we have to have them. But I'd like to have it ironed out, and then where you could put it out to the public, and then finalize it. I don't wanna iron it out and finalize it that night. I mean, I just don't think it looks good. I mean, I know that we're on the up and everything else, but,
During that meeting, or when you adopt the budget booklet that Mr. Foy had up is your supporting document. We have to prepare a budget ordinance, and that's what you actually adopt, and we do have to have specific amounts for each line item for that particular document.
And we had to provide notice to the public.
Yes.
And so that's why I think this,
It can
that's why
be-
I'm suggesting
well,
this be continued,
it-
and that we make it clear that we would accept public comments on what I will call corrections or amendments that, we'll be tweaking it, and I certainly wouldn't want a citizen not to be able to make any comments after changes were made. That doesn't seem right.
yeah,
why don't we do this? Why don't we have a budget workshop on Thursday, the 15th? Is that okay with you guys? 7 PM?
And are you considering, would you be potentially adopting a budget at that time?
no,
And then a second meeting on, I know you can't do Thursday,
22nd.
could you do that Tuesday?
No, I could do Wednesday, let's see, I could do Wednesday possibly, or
What's the date on Wednesday?
Monday,
What's the date on Wednesday?
21st.
Guys, does that strike a 6:21? So budget workshop on Thursday, 6:15, 7 PM. Special called meeting to adopt the budget.
And a new hearing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I
we
want to
need-
continue the hearing from tonight.
To the 21st.
Yes, to the 21st at 7 PM.
yeah, that's fine.
Thrown out a lot of dates and words here. Is this going to be kosher with everybody?
Somebody send me an email, I'll be here.
All right.
15th is the workshop, and then the 21st is the meeting to adopt it.
A hearing and potential adoption.
All right. Mr.
I have a
Winfrey, I'm gonna look.
question. We will, if we have another hearing, we can prepare one based on what happens at the workshop. We can prepare an ordinance for that. Then after your hearing, should you decide to change it again at that meeting, we'll have to call a recess and update this
Right.
document.
I would hope any changes after that, would be none to
Just wanna
mine,
make that clear.
We should get everything done Thursday.
I think Kim has most of it now.
Pretty much done,
But I did ask Kim earlier this week to do a what if scenario in terms of the deputy clerk position.
I mean, we're gonna iron the details out Thursday night, and then we're gonna continue the budget here until whatever date it was you said.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm good with that.
So this agenda item's to discuss the budget. Has there been a vote to have these meetings? We need to do that, or
No,
to vote to have them?
You were making a motion here, I think, and then we turned into discussion. I don't think anybody seconded your motion.
Okay.
Did we?
Yeah.
So
So I would recommend how you have a motion, if you want to consolidate to one motion, say, an additional workshop to consider what you've heard tonight on a week from today, and
Yeah,
then a second hearing on the 21st.
let's do that. I'll withdraw my motion and make a new motion that we have a budget workshop on Thursday, the 15th of June at 7 PM at Town Hall. And that we have a special called meeting on Wednesday, the 21st of June, to continue the public forum for budget, for the town's budget for FY '24, as well as to potentially adopt the FY '24 operating budget.
I'll second that. I would feel a little more comfortable if you'd change the wording from forum to hearing.
Yeah, hearing. I'm sorry,
No problem.
Yeah.
That's why there's 5 of us. Hopefully
Yeah.
we get going in the right direction.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
public hearing. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Jim?
Aye.
Am I?
Huh?
Tim?
All right.
All right, motion passes 4-0 to have those two meetings. Staying on this agenda item,
And wait a minute, before I forget it, Ms. Thacker, I just want to tell you, whatever else there may be in this red file folder, I really liked our budget message. You did a good job presenting the numbers where it was very readable. You know, sometimes reading numbers for us laymen is kind of a dry kind of thing, but I thought it was just the best one we've had since I've been on council.
Kim, I thought it was good too. I have red inked the heck out of this thing though. I'm sorry.
I'm not shocked.
We're not gonna talk about it in public, but we gotta fix some things. Mr. Attorney, we're discussing the budget right now. We've heard from an organization, making a request, for next week's, for next year's operating budget. Would it be appropriate to make a motion now to go ahead and approve that from the town council? What is your recommendation there?
Well, first off, I heard some questions from the council about protecting the town, and so maybe it would be helpful before the work session for me to give the town some options on how the town could be protected from the scenario of the town investing money, then it gets sold the next month to someone else. And so, this is the lawyer here making
Sure.
up the worst-case scenario. So if it would be helpful, I could prepare options for the board to consider about strings to the money, I guess, for
Okay.
lack of a better word. And then you could decide at the work session, and I'll be glad to be here for that session if you want me to, just to discuss those options.
Okay.
And then we could perhaps incorporate that into the budget or consider it.
I like that idea. Let's do whatever's reasonable and simple, but you know.
That sounds wise. would it be appropriate to make a budget or make a motion to have Kim include that in the budget under the special revenue fund for the American Rescue Plan? Just to note that $50,000 would at least be in the budget. Now, Jordan, that wouldn't mean that it's a done deal.
It would be, we're gonna put it in the proposed budget. I'll second that.
Okay,
On the special revenue side.
okay. So I'll make a motion that you include a $50,000 grant to Stokesdale Parks and Recreation to be used only for lighting and light poles at 8401 Capri Drive at the community park.
I'll second it.
All right, so this is just strictly for it to be in the proposed budget, and hopefully for it to be in the real budget once we get it adopted, probably on June 21st.
It's to add to the draft budget we're working on.
Yes, sir. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jim?
Aye.
Am I? Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 4-0. Jordan, thank you for coming to speak tonight. I do want to make it clear, though, that motion means that we would like to see it in the budget, but before we move forward and it's approved by council, you've heard that, we're going to have further discussion on that. So the budget wasn't going to pass tonight anyway, in my opinion, so this is good news. I'm pulling for you. I'm one vote, though.
How quick's it gonna be? If you get funding for this project, how
Stuff and it turned out okay.
soon they're gonna be able to get on it?
We would love to get it done before the fall. Some of the fundraising as well as the actual installation. So we already have the contract drawn out for the wall. It's just a matter of having the funding and go.
You got any concerns about prices going up or anything like that?
That's why we're already locked it in.
You already got locked in? Oh, great, great. That's super. Thinking ahead.
Good job, Jordan.
Yeah. Y'all do a good job, that's for sure.
And hats off to the whole organization and the job they're doing. They're fantastic. I'd like to call for a 5-minute recess, please.
Sounds good.
Oh, man. You hear them bones popping?
I beg your pardon?
Said you hear them bones popping?
They were probably mine.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I don't care if free or not, I'm canceling.
At least provide some entertainment, normal Monday court schedule.
He didn't get his coffee. He should have come to the meeting.
I know. I can run it to his house.
Oh, yeah. Any more?
My routine is Julia Then get taking her medicine too, she has to take medicine every day. Joey, take your medicine. I will in a minute. Joey, I'm telling you, take your medicine now, because I'm staying here. I get in my mind.
Well, and that's the issue, I don't think
Certain tasks in the morning, in my mind, I gotta make sure it's done. Door open, her medicine. I have PTSD firsthand.
Right, where it's gonna sit. And sometimes there's, you might just.
He was actually thinking during that presentation.
Yeah, I had never said. So which one is the actual seal? Don't bring that up, we'll be here all night.
Rob, we got it. Oh, yeah, what you got?
This is for the morning for you.
Which seal, I look at, that I'm looking at right now is the actual seal from town center.
So I don't have an answer, but I noticed that for the first time today too.
That's the first time I've ever noticed it.
So the one up top is the official seal, and then they must have had someone paint that one in a little bit better detail on the bottom.
Okay.
I like the second one.
Yeah, I know.
The one that's on
Yeah. But I'd go with the top one. The top one is the seal. So before the meeting started, I just left the seal up on the screen. I noticed the same thing. I said, those horses don't match up. And yeah, so
There's plow, there's three tobacco plants, there's two, the seals are different.
I don't know who painted that, but I don't. I mean, it looks good, but I have no idea how they got switched up. I don't even know how old that one is. I've looked at like some old videos before YouTube, like when Summerfield Scoop would come, and that wasn't there. So I don't know. That's not that old.
Where it came from. I bet there's some junk. I'm sure it would be the first time in business with somebody.
That's right. I'm sure.
Tim, got a question you can only you can answer.
All right. We have to ask those questions.
All right, what is? I've been looking at it, two different seals. And I'd like to know which one is real and it's line. There's three tobacco plants up here, two of them, the horses are there, bottom, still there. We're going to have to call a special meeting. I'm gonna need to add this to the agenda for next Thursday. I've never noticed it before. Leave it to me. That's right. I've never noticed it before until tonight.
Next time I'll make sure.
There you go. That's fine.
And it's probably it. Normally the screen's all the way down there. But I stopped it about halfway just to look.
You have to use.
This requires.
Did he paint or they? Who's painting? They didn't paint it, but they had a little contest. Design of it. I think.
Well, I mean, there'd be a situation where it's not an athletic thing.
Yes, there's also the ladder is not sealed over.
Oh, but it is up there.
It's right up there. Yeah, see, I can't see the ladder. It's all.
I need to see all your red marks, sir, before, you know.
Hey, it's cheap. They got it probably, yeah. Well, that's a long time for me ago when I took that in high school. Our deputy clerk will take that as an advisement and investigate it. Hey, I've done all I could do. I just noticed the difference.
We need to see if there's any contact policy.
So it was green.
Yeah, so it was green pond for a long time. And maybe 9.
We can talk about it.
But I know the reason they.
Walking trail. Says 1 mile east of Oak Ridge.
Where they did a map of Raleigh, the guy that drew the map.
We'll fix it.
I know there's in fact somewhere in the United States, there's a city that drew a map years ago. He signed his name. I could be, I don't, it may not be Raleigh. But I wonder.
I have those AED invoices. I'm gonna go ahead and enter those.
All right, folks, that 5-minute recess has been more like a 10-minute one. If you could make your way back and get ready to go, we have a little more business to conduct.
Get your gavel out.
Tim, hit that gavel for me. Come on.
I've never
Come
hit the
on, you
gavel.
do it.
No,
This is you.
No,
Hit
no,
it.
no, I will not.
Come on.
That's above my job, no, will not do it.
That was 10. All right, we'll go ahead and resume. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, consideration of town administrator / town clerk job description and job position. That's 2 job titles, but it's only one person doing the work, just to clarify that, not 2 different jobs. This is something that I did add to the agenda. I appreciate Ms. Martin and Robbie working to find, I don't know if Robbie did, I know Ms. Martin did, that's who I talked to find some job descriptions of town administrators in other towns and sending those to me. And tried to craft it to what I think if the town of Stokesdale had a town administrator / town clerk position, of what those responsibilities would be. General Statute 160A-146 is about, states canceled to organize city government. So instead of using the word city here, I'm gonna read it and use the word town instead. City just too big. The council may create, change, abolish, and consolidate office, positions, departments, boards, commissions, and agencies of the town government, and generally organize and reorganize the town government in order to promote orderly and efficient administration of the town affairs. When I look at how we're set up and structured in a mayor-council form of government, which I still am a proponent of a mayor-council form of government, at least at this time, we have 5 employees, 3 part-time employees, and then 2 full-time, right? Help me out, Robbie. So we have, a group of 5 employees, and they're individual contributors. I think the world of each one of them. But they, if you compare it to, kind of like a business, it would, if a private company had individual contributors reporting to the board of directors without a leader on staff, that wouldn't make much sense. I believe that we do need to have a leader on staff for all of staff to report to. And it's my opinion that that person be our town clerk, but also have the town administrator title to reflect what they're really doing. I mean, they're gonna be the leader of staff who likely council would go to the most. In our case, that an administrator or whoever would have that responsibility of obviously the general government of the town of Stokesdale, but also the water system. There's a lot there, even though we're a small town, 6,000 people. Small budget, of course. We need a leader at town hall to, you know, make sure staff is using their time wisely, allocating resources appropriately, be responsible for the, you know, the operational execution of the town, through the management of the day-to-day work. You know, you guys do a lot of things great. I think we can be better. And I think by having somebody for all of staff to report to and provide, you know, the day-to-day direction, I think that's a need. You know, I think it would be a need in really any organization. I think we lack that right now, and I would like to see that. So, you know, yeah, I have put together a town administrator / town clerk job description. Shared it with council, shared it with the public. Wanted to make my opinion be known to the public that I believe that this is a needed position at the town of Stokesdale. And, you know, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. I don't know, I may, but I don't know if I have a motion or not. But this, in my opinion, is an organizational need, just one council member. Guys, what do you think?
First off, can I ask where the copy of the job description is? I'm not,
Number 10,
oh, it's on the back side of one.
this yellow.
It's probably stuck to number 9. Mine was kind of stuck together.
Yeah, okay, I got it, yeah, it was stuck. I've been through there several times, looking for it.
Yeah.
You'd have
Too,
it.
same thing.
Yeah, well, it's there. You know, for the sake of time, I'm not gonna read through all 22 duties I put down. But, you know, just primary task number 1, manages and supervises the town government staff, works with them to establish long and short-range goals, and ensures effectiveness and efficiency of services provided. Communicates organizational mission and goals of established by elected officials and administrator, and helps staff enhance these goals and implement programs consistent with them. Builds a strong staff with energy and cohesive vision. We're just a little bit discombobulated right now, in my opinion, and that's the way I feel. I think we're going through a transition period as a town, and I think we need to look at how our organization is structured, just like how any board would look and review how their organization is structured. And are we structured to be the best? In my opinion, no, but that's my opinion.
If I can ask you a question, I'm sure
Yeah.
you've looked it up. Does the town administrator role take on it any additional statutory requirements?
Thank you for asking that question, and absolutely not. Now, a town manager does have statutory requirements, but a town administrator would only have the authority granted to him by the town council through a majority vote.
Okay. So just for clarity, this pretty much just gives us a kind of a chain of command in town hall.
It does.
Carry out the daily task of running the town.
It does.
But it doesn't affect the overall structure of budget amendments, big ticket things. It still has to come through the council.
Absolutely, absolutely. The only, you know, change I would like to see is that there be somebody, an employee that all of staff reports to, that employee be responsible, kind of the go-to for the town. And I would like to see, I think our town, I know our town is not big enough just to have a town administrator without them doing, some work of an individual, without being a doer.
Right.
And the doer part of that is the town clerk position.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think this is a position that the town of Stokesdale has had in the past. I really can't speak to that, or I won't. And, you know, I'd like to hear what other council members think.
Does this position have hiring and firing capabilities?
Only if we granted it to the town administrator. Me as one council member would not do that. I would obviously look for the town administrator's feedback and consider that and that would weigh heavily on me on any hiring decisions that ultimately the town council would make. The town administrator would be an advisory role there.
So you're talking about one position with two titles?
I am, yes, sir. What other questions do you guys have? Concerns, reservations?
Are there other towns that run this similar type of model?
Very much so. Very much so. I would be speculating, but I would say the majority, which I guess is, 50.1%, but I don't even know it to be fact, but I would speculate that the majority of mayor council towns do have somebody titled as an administrator, and they likely carry another title as well, small towns. I have no motion to make, but I did want to share an opportunity an opinion that I have to see for operational improvement. Anybody else, fellas?
I don't really have any further questions. I think, as long as it doesn't affect our statutory requirements and things like that, doesn't change our form of government, then
No, sir.
I don't
No,
have
sir.
any other questions about it.
I don't think we even have the authority to change our form of government. I think that is a vote of the citizens. And that's not what I desire. It's, I just desire an appointed leader of staff that works full-time here.
And just to play, because I have a clear idea what you're after, and to kind of play devil's advocate on this. Let's say, we have a great staff.
What do you
that
mean?
all works independently.
What do you mean you have a clear idea of what I'm after?
Well, as far as a hierarchy and
Yes,
a
okay.
reporting concept. So just so everybody would understand, what we have right now would be if we had an employee that wasn't meeting expectations, it would, in our current form, it'd be up to the council to handle that, because each employee is kind of independent of each other as far as reporting.
I agree with you.
So I think I do see I do see the benefit of having a clear chain of command within town hall to help oversee the staff. And unfortunately, we don't have any staff problems, but that's not always been the case.
And performance management would be a job duty of the town administrator. And, to avoid any performance problems that hopefully we didn't, see as a council. If there were performance problems in this setup, I would imagine, the town administrator would address them first. And if they weren't corrected or continued to be an issue, I would imagine it would become a council issue. I appreciate the questions, Jim.
And I think you mentioned a very important piece, and the performance management piece is something we don't have right now. And I think that would be an asset for, like you said earlier, long-term goals, short-term goals, and career growth for each employee. So I do see some long-term advantages in having some supervision on site.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, guys, thank you for your consideration. I have no motion to make. I do feel pretty strongly about this stuff. No any questions or comments? We'll move on to the next item, which is item number 11, the consideration of proposal for water system consultation and general engineering services. I did request Robbie put this on the agenda Not sure of the timing, but roughly 4 or 5 weeks ago, we put out another request for qualifications for engineers for our water system. This RFQ was different than the RFQ that we sent out about 3 or 4 months ago, as the first RFQ was very specific to water line extensions. This RFQ was more broad in nature, though examples of projects such as an agitator in the elevated water tank, a control altitude valve, I believe a fee study, and some other things from a planning perspective were listed for general engineering services. So I believe Robbie submitted that, don't know the exact day, let's call it roughly 4 or 5 weeks ago. And we did hear back from one firm. It's a firm we're familiar with Hazen and Sawyer. The town council has had numerous water workshops last fall, and I think I infer that we all feel that we need to take the next step in investigating an agitator in that elevated water tank, as well as that control altitude valve. Those were both recommendations back in 2019, I believe, maybe 2020, from a Hazen and Sawyer study. So this would just be advancing that to the next phase, which of course, if we did implement those investments, would be using our grant money to do that. So I would like to make a motion to accept no, I'm gonna change that. I would like to make a motion to accept this request for qualifications from Hazen and Sawyer and to enter into negotiations with Hazen and Sawyer for our general engineering needs. I believe that covers that.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Guys, any discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Would you repeat that motion? I apologize, I had myself distracted there for a
That's
second.
okay, I didn't write this one down, but the motion effectively was to accept Hazen and Sawyer's request for qualifications and to enter into negotiations with Hazen and Sawyer for our general engineering needs. Projects.
Okay.
And to be, that's my motion, and I'll expand on, what that means. I think
Somebody second your motion?
Jim did.
Okay.
And to clarify, I would envision some of these projects being the agitator in the elevated tank, control altitude valve. I believe a fee study is a proper use from the grant money awarded to us through the Department of Water Infrastructure.
I got you.
As well as some other things.
The
AIA, yes, thank you, Aaron.
The question that comes to my mind would be if council wanted to get a second opinion or for whatever reason pursue a conversation with another engineering firm. Is there anything, by voting for this motion, anything that would restrict council from doing so?
I'll answer that question the best I know how, or let Chuck do it.
Well, yeah, this motion before you just says that, I get presumably the mayor, I'm not sure who you're gonna authorize to do these negotiations, but, yes, until there's an actual contract signed, there's no limitation on the town at all. And then once there is a contract signed, you could still, if you wanted a second opinion, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I just didn't want anything sneaking up on me and being told that, wait a minute, you voted to exclusively do business with Hazen and Sawyer, so I've just wanted clarification. Thank you.
Let's talk about that a minute. Yeah, that's a good point. When we enter into negotiations with Hazen and Sawyer on this, it's not that we can have other negotiations going with another engineering firm on these projects. Is that correct? Because we are voting to accept their RFQ that they submitted to us.
Well,
Now, if negotiations failed and we couldn't come to an agreement, then we punt.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
That's right, that's right. If we can't reach terms that you think are reasonable, for the town, then we would do an RFQ again and seek other engineering firms to handle the work.
Correct.
And this is not our process, it's required by state law for any citizen that might be curious about this.
Sure, absolutely. You know, Aaron, I don't want to catch you unprepared, but my guess is you are prepared. You always are. But do you have anything you'd like to add about the projects you know that council has discussed in the past, as well as we specified on the RFQ as some examples that we're doing? Maybe if you could just say the benefits of, say, an altitude, you know, that would be helpful.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So this RFQ is specifically to, well, the reason it was,
If you would, identify yourself.
sorry, Aaron Bassett with Hazen Sawyer. I actually live here in Stokesdale at 7706 Front 9 Drive. This RFQ specifically is to satisfy the requirements for the AIA services with the state. So to accept an engineering firm to do the work that's associated with the $400,000 worth of grants, it has to be done through a competitive RFQ process. And so that's the town issued that RFQ. I think we were the only respondent to that RFQ. So the answer to say if negotiations did fail, we would step back, or you guys would step back and then issue another RFQ for those services.
And RFQ
Hope
stands
that
for?
won't happen.
RFQ stands for?
A request for qualifications. In regards to the qualification-based selection to satisfy the requirements of Minnie Brooks Act. Some of the projects that were involved, to answer your question, would include the AIA study, which included the study, financial study for the rate study. We look at system development fees for you, look at the overall viability of the water system going forward, and what that might look like for rate increases, decreases, whatever it may end up being. Unfortunately, that's not really the world we're in right now, but on the decrease side. But just to make sure that you are able to sustain going forward, right? Or do the rates now satisfy that, right? So that would be the goal of the rate study. Beyond that, we would be looking at the mixing system inside the tank for disinfection byproduct reasons. We'd be looking at the control valve at the point of entry of the system to make sure that the system is turning over properly to minimize the disinfection byproduct production process inside the town's water system. So, you know, there's a lot of things that will be done with the $400,000 worth of funds. And so that's, and a lot of great things that need to happen inside the town.
I think it's reasonable to believe that some of this work that we've discussed, these projects would cost more than $400,000. The $400,000 you mentioned is specific to the Department of Water Infrastructure grant.
It is, and it's for engineering planning services. So the $400,000 wouldn't be able to be used toward any equipment.
Such as an agitator?
Such as the agitator. It would be used, it could be used for the design of that. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Everybody trying to talk at once, forgive me. It could be used for engineering, for rate studies, and what else?
Yeah, so let me back up. So we applied for two different, one planning grant for the town, and then one asset inventory assessment, which is what an AIA study is.
That was it.
So that would be, and that was for $300,000. The difference in those two, so the $100,000 would go toward the mixing system, the agitator, I think is the term used, mixing system, the control valve, and we'd look at the overall planning for that, and then ultimately the design as the state would approve for those funds. The $300,000 would be used for the rate study. We'd look at all your asset inventories. We'd look at overall system planning, and then that would be used for those pieces. Any remaining funds, if those were available after we finish those tasks, could be used toward other planning tasks or studies as they involve. What I would hope to use with it, and I think what we put in the proposal and also in the planning, in the grant application, was to take the master plan that was developed back in 2019, 2020, I believe, and refine that document. To use your terms, Mr. Jones, some of the information that we were given that went into that maybe misled some of the results. And so I'd like to clean that up. I'd like to use the opportunity in those funds to clean that document up and really give a proper planning document to the town going forward to develop
Well,
capital
that
improvement
would be
projects.
refreshing news for yours truly. Thank you for that.
You're scratching them where it itches, Aaron. You know that.
I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I understand
important.
his complaints, so.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron, guys?
No, thanks.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to accept Hazen and Sawyer's request for qualifications and enter into negotiations for general engineering projects. Jim?
Aye.
Am I? Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 4-0. Next up on the agenda,
Excuse me a minute, Mr. Foy.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind. Didn't we, in a previous meeting, decide that you and the mayor would undertake this negotiation process with Hazen and Sawyer?
I don't recall that.
Do we need to handle that by vote tonight, is my question.
I'd be happy to
Because
do it.
all five of us can't do it without it being a public meeting, as you know. And so,
I actually have the minutes from that because that had to do with the A and D as well. And you did discuss it in that special call meeting. I'm trying to grab the minutes.
I have some fuzzy memory of us having that discussion.
You're correct about that, though.
I
It was
don't.
the March 31st meeting.
That's something I want to forget.
Lord, Robbie.
This gift keeps on giving.
Here it is, right here.
I think it was Tim and the mayor.
Well, that might have been whoever makes it. That was actually on this one where you guys will do the negotiations.
Just tell me what it says.
It said, Mayor Crawford made an amendment that should negotiations be needed, Mayor Pro Tem Foy and I, as mayor, will handle those negotiations. This was on consideration for Kennerly Engineering to submit a request for proposal.
Okay.
Okay, in the event one of you is not available, I'll volunteer Jimmy.
Okay. That sounds
You
good.
do what? Yeah.
All right, that sounds great, fellas. Are we ready to move on to the consideration for finance budget officer to attend a budgeting guide for local government webinar series? Sounds exciting. I don't know, what is this?
I missed the first one was actually Tuesday, and because of the amount, I didn't attend it because it needed to be approved, so.
Is this something you want to do?
Well, I think I've missed out on this one, but yes, this is something I would like to attend.
Do they have this thing recorded where you can go back?
I'm not sure. I'll look into that. Dale, do you know that answer? If they had, I think we just kind of bypassed it because I wasn't able to attend the Tuesday, because it was 3 sessions.
You would have liked to attend the Tuesday one, but the amount
Would include, yes. so-
requires a vote of council.
Correct.
Okay.
We're not a member?
The budget, what it is a budget guide workshop hosted by the Managers Association. That we felt like it would be a good overall budget course for this type of activity.
And who'd you say it was through?
International City Managers Conference.
Okay, well, I mean, we're not members, is what you're saying.
No,
Okay.
I'm sure there would be more.
What's the cost of membership? Is it cheaper than the difference?
The membership for the annual membership is probably over $1,000.
Just thought I'd ask.
I mean, I'll vote for it, that's fine. I don't like webinars. I like real in-person
Me too.
classes. Are there in-person classes?
If I find one, can I do that?
I mean,
I would rather have
everybody
in-person,
learns
too.
differently. If webinars are just, they're not my cup of tea personally. I mean, what do you?
I don't like really doing any of my CEs, period, on webinars. I'm like you, I like being in person. However, this did
what's a
catch my
CE?
interest because of what it was, but maybe we can find something in person.
Roughly how many hours would this entail, do you know?
Oh, gosh, do you still have that? Yeah, it was like an hour and a half.
For a total of?
Here it is.
1.5 hours.
Yes.
So you already missed one.
Yeah, this one, yeah, I wouldn't pay $695 for 2 classes now anyway. That's only 3 hours, but since I missed the first one, but,
All right, why is this on the agenda?
well, I would like to be approved for at least some amount.
For continuing education?
Yes.
Okay, I'm all for that. We'll put it in next year's budget. And I'll make a motion to, I mean, it's hard to,
I know.
well, tell you what, why don't you find some good in-person classes and we'll just look at it then. I'm all for continuing education. I think it's important. But we need to know what, we want one that's suitable for you and how you learn. And maybe one that's offered by the North Carolina School of Government and not some international something.
We'll do that by June 15th.
Ms. Thacker,
Yes.
I think there's a North Carolina Finance Officers Association of some sort. Have you contacted them? And
No, but I will write that down.
I think I've had some interaction with them in previous years, and they seem to be a fairly good bunch of folks. I don't think they maintain office hours, but I think they exist.
Okay. It's on the list, sir. Okay. Ms. Martin just said yes, it's on the list, sir, so.
So Kim, when we find a good class, we'll, maybe as soon as, well, we didn't, maybe the next town council meeting, because the special call meeting needs to, or we can add it to the agenda for the special call meeting now.
We
Well, if
couldn't
it's a
make the
budget
amendment in the
I mean,
budget?
You've got the budget. I guess she's asking for budget entry, so if you present the budget on
Yeah,
the work session, you could add it then.
let's just find a class and we'll find,
Okay.
thank you for looking into this. It's important.
Well, Ms. Martin, thank you.
Next up, citizens' comments from the floor. Anybody would like to speak, please? Seeing that there are none, we do have a matter that's you need to discuss in closed session. So in accordance with General Statute 143-318-11, I make a motion to go into closed session for employee discussions, employee-related discussions. Mr. Winfrey, is that a sufficient motion?
Yes.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
All right. We have a second?
Just for the council's information, I had initially put a placeholder to consult with me on matters, but I'm not ready to make that presentation yet, so nothing from my end for the executive session.
Okay, so no attorney-client privilege reason?
Correct, that's right.
Just personnel matters?
Correct, that's right.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. So we have a motion and a second from Jimmy. Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
All right.
Jimmy? These are the 4 that I've submitted to be re signature.
Is it just one?
Yeah, yes, just one. It's just that one, the A and B.
I stopped this, or I'm gonna turn it back on.
So we can get this sent on tonight. Post office box. on the way.
Go, all righty.
Done.
Right. All right, it's about 10:20 PM. I'll make a motion that we reconvene in open session.
Second motion.
All right, Jim?
Aye.
Am I?
Huh?
Aye.
All right, we are back in open session. I do have a motion to make. I'm going to make a motion to promote Robbie Lee Wagner II to town clerk for the town of Stokesdale for a salary of $57,000 to become effective July 1st, 2023.
I will second that motion.
If,
I'm sorry, did I cut you off at the pass?
That's okay, I can make a subsequent motion. I did want to include that all staff, town staff would report to Robbie, effective 7/1/23.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay, that's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion? I'll just say that Robbie's been with us, a year now, and I think he's done just a tremendous job. And I think you got a lot of admiration from really anybody that's met you in the community, Robbie. But amongst your peers on staff, and I know that they'll be very happy for you, as am I, if this passes. Vote, Jim?
Aye.
Am I? Jimmy?
Huh?
Tim?
Aye.
All right. I will also make a motion that Ms. Martin will move to the deputy clerk position, still working in the part-time capacity, effective July 1st, 2023.
I'll second that motion.
Should it be July 3rd?
I just put the first day of the fiscal year.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're consistent statutorily. If we made him on the, didn't we make?
Oh,
him
did I make,
On the 3rd?
This needs to be done on the same.
same day? Do you know what day I
I thought you
said?
said July 1st, I thought.
I thought you said the 3rd.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
All right, as long as we're on agreement.
July
same
1st,
day.
same day. Okay. Great, and that is on a Saturday, for what it's worth, but it's the first day of the fiscal year. Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor and a second for Dale, Ms. Martin, to become the deputy clerk, part-time deputy clerk effective July 1st. Jim?
I do have a
Yes, sir?
question about that now. So if it's on a Saturday, does he need to be sworn in on that Saturday? Or can we wait till another business meeting?
He can be sworn in at town hall.
Yeah, I was sworn in on my first day.
Yeah. He can be sworn in on that Friday. It just doesn't go into effect from a salary standpoint or.
Just something to clarify that we do that.
But,
Good point, Mr. Rigsby, thank you.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Jim?
Aye.
Derek's aye.
Huh?
Tim?
Aye.
Okay. Do you have the agenda, bud, so I can see the announcements before after we?
Yes.
Gotta get him one of them little.
Okay.
curls, man.
That brings us to cancel. That brings us to cancel comments. Mr. Rigsby?
Nothing. Congratulations, Mr. Wagner, well earned, and hopefully your rent won't go up effective July 1st.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, probably will.
Landlord will read about this in the paper and say, happy Father's Day to all the dads here. I know it's not Sunday, but I believe it's the next Sunday, so happy Father's Day, guys. And Robbie, congratulations, buddy. I'm so proud of you, happy for you, and you better do well. I know you will. Congratulations, Robbie.
Robbie, I tell you what, I appreciate you coming in here. You're a breath of fresh air, which we've got a good staff. I appreciate, what everybody's done, Miss Dale and all, and Kim, you too. But, I'm tickled for you. You know, we've bought you some shoes now, and we're sending you to school. And we expect you to stay here a while. Of course, we always want you to do good, but you'll be a big asset. And, we got some people coming in here one of these days who's gonna really like having you. And you know who they are. But I'm sure you'll handle it well, whatever happens, and I appreciate you and the rest of you too. Appreciate you being here. You did a great job and made it, my last 2 years here pleasant.
Absolutely.
Mr. Wagner, I too would like to congratulate you, appreciate the time you put in. That this was an easy decision for me, and I think you'll be just fine. Of course, if you have questions, you know who to go to.
Absolutely.
There she is. And I like the new skirt that staff has dug up and put on the table. That's fancy.
You can thank Ms. Hunsaker for that.
And I'd like to thank our one citizen that has endured this long meeting.
Yep. Thank you, Karen. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, just a couple announcements.
Oh,
The Town of Stokesdale Town Planning Board meeting for June 22nd, 2023 has been canceled. The Town of Stokesdale will hold a regularly scheduled meeting on Thursday, July 13th at 7 p.m. inside the Town Hall Council Chambers located at 8325 Angel Purdue Road, Stokesdale, North Carolina. We have a budget workshop Thursday, June 8th at 7. Excuse me, yes, thank you. June the 15th at 7 p.m. And then we have a special called town meeting on Wednesday, the 21st at 7 p.m. at Town Hall. Thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Guys, I got some birds that are freezing, so I gotta get